I shoot all my YouTube video content on either my Pentax K3 or Pentax K1 DSLRs, with the exception of some GoPro or mobile footage thrown in. This includes my headshot type videos and product shot videos. Now, I am no expert in video, and I think that should be fairly clear from the quality of videos you see on my channel. But all the same, many of you have been asking me to go over my Pentax video settings, and I would be happy to do so. This video will be broken into two sections. The first will be my Pentax video settings used for my headshot interview type videos, and the second will be my Pentax video settings I use for my product shot type videos. They are pretty similar with a few exceptions. Before we jump in, just a quick note that applies to both. Many people say that Pentax cameras are just no good for video, and that you shouldn't even bother shooting video on them. That's a little bit of an exaggeration. Pentax cameras are capable for video, and I'm glad they have the feature there for people like me who can't afford having a dedicated camera just for video. Yet, hopefully soon. It's true the frame rate options are limited and the bit rate is quite low, but you just have to think of it kind of like an older stills camera. If you get the scene, lighting, exposure, and colors right in camera to begin with, then it can actually look pretty good. But if you don't, well, good luck editing this compressed stuff in post. It's actually pretty funny I'm talking about this now, because somebody let me know that Chris and Jordan have been shooting on a Pentax K01 on the DP Review channel. I'm not really sure what possessed them to do that, but you can see that when they get the lighting right, it doesn't look half bad. At least I wouldn't have been able to tell you that it was filmed on a Pentax camera. Okay, to the video. First off, my Pentax video settings for headshot interview type videos. This will be pretty quick because Pentax doesn't actually have a lot of options when it comes to videos anyway. I'm just going to go through the settings and the menus as they're listed in order. I shoot 1080 at 30 frames per second. I've never found a situation where it's worth shooting 60 interlaced frames because of the problems that interlaced video introduces. Maybe you can think of one, so feel free to let me know in the comments. Just a quick note, for audio, I use an external microphone and I set the mic input to 8 and push it in post. This works out pretty well even on my cheap $20 mic. If the level is set too high, you'll get clipping really easily and it doesn't sound too great. I do not use video dynamic range settings or digital filters. The former I found not to be a good compensation for bad lighting, if that was your idea, and the latter are fun to play with, but don't look great for this type of video. I shoot in manual mode and I adjust all the exposure settings manually. The lens is in manual focus and I pre-focus using live view and that nice little punch-in feature with focus peaking. This isn't a K70, so I don't have that nifty flip-out screen. So one thing I will do is either borrow my wife to sit where I would sit and focus on her, or I place an object on the chair where my head would be. The exposure is obviously different depending on the lighting. You really need to nail this in camera though, because there is no room for adjusting this in post without compression artifacts showing. The key here is lighting your subject well, which is something I am very much still learning and could be its own topic, but I've gotten a lot better at it. And I've learned that it's more important than having a fancier video camera. It is worth taking the time to learn how to properly light. I do not use auto white balance in this situation because I find it gets confused with mixed indoor light sources, and that leads to bad skin tones. I have a manual white balance setting I configured based on my setup, ready to go. I set this by turning on all my lights, putting a card where my face would be, and doing the custom white balance. And this works really well. Like the exposure, you really need to get the colors right in camera. I've tried to color grade Pentax video footage and it just doesn't work. Because the bitrate is so low and I'm trying to do everything in camera, I have played a bit with the video profile settings. This probably depends on your exact setup, so play around with what you like. For me, I'm using the bright setting with contrast +1, sharpness +1, and here's how the colors are stretched. Lastly, make sure video stabilization is set to off. When on a tripod, this stabilization will go stir crazy and start moving around your frame, making it look like someone is hand-holding the video. Not cool. Now for my video settings for product shots. These settings are really similar to the other ones I've described already, with a few exceptions. One would be that I actually really like the stabilization for slow pans. It can still be quirky at times, and especially with longer focal lengths. But under 100 millimeters, it seems to work really well. So much so that I sold my little camera slider dolly thing because it was just so much easier to do it by hand. and it doesn't look half bad. I will also often shoot a flatter profile here than I do in my headshot videos. Once again, just play with the settings and find something you like. I still don't use autofocus here. I find it much faster and more reliable to use manual focus. Even if I was using a camera that had great video AF, I think I would use manual focus just for the control and the nice focus pull shots. Well, those are my settings I use on my Pentax cameras for videos. I'm still learning how to shoot video, but I'm slowly getting better. If there's one thing I can say for certain, it is that just like photography, taking the time to study skills like lighting and color will do more for the quality of your output than a new camera will. I think that applies here for video. If I keep this up, one day I'll be able to get a better dedicated video camera with some more features. But for now, I'm happy with trying to get the basics right. Who knows? Maybe I'll even get there one of these days. Thanks for watching. I hope this was a helpful video. Feel free to share your video tips and tricks in the comments or ask any questions. If you have some more in-depth questions, reach out to me on the Snappiness forum linked in the description. Go out there and shoot video with whatever you have, wherever you are, and until next time, happy snapping.